Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Badger Pack Sports. A little bit of a sad show coming off March Madness loss to BYU. Here to talk about it with my co-host Justin Legal. Justin, how's it going?
March Madness, more like March Sadness today as we mourn that difficult loss to BYU. I think we're going to give some reason for reflection here on the season and perhaps a look ahead into what lies ahead with Greg Gard and the Badger squad as we lick our wounds. But I think we want to kind of talk about our thoughts and feelings on what happened in Denver a couple nights ago, and perhaps where does the future of this program lie?
Yep. Nope. Watched the game together. Justin was down in Milwaukee for March Madness, hoping Wisconsin would have been there, but that was not the case.
Still a sensitive topic in this household, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it.
Yeah. So,
But that was a fun time. It was good to hang out. We spent some
yeah.
time, got some food, watched the game. A couple
Yeah.
high fives were shared, and then a couple sad moments were shared too. But
Yep. No, definitely a game where it just seemed like BYU always had just a little bit more than Wisconsin, and at some points a lot more.
yeah, and this was a matchup I was not looking forward to. And even when I did the bracket beforehand, uh, as a big Badger fan, I'm not a homer enough to be unrealistic. And I did have BYU beating us, and I could pull up my bracket and show, but I'm not going to do that today. But it, I just looked at it from afar. I watched BYU play in the Big 12. They remind me, and I share this with you, Robbie, and others, is like they're just a more athletic version of us. They just seem to have a little more bounce in their step. They were able to penetrate our defense a bit more. Their shooting was just honestly better than ours, and and we dug ourselves a hole. I mean, I felt like we blink an eye and we were down, double digits, and we were just kind of clawing away in the second half. We made it interesting, and that's all you can ask for. But I
Yeah,
thought from the get go it was a tough matchup.
yeah, no, I think it also doesn't help. I mean, we talked about it on here, but it's like you got that you're playing in the championship game, then you play on Thursday, and then you're rolling again Saturday, and yet it just seemed like they were a little tired, like just not enough in the tank there towards the end. But I mean, what a great way to claw back, at least be in the game. It's like when it was 10 minutes left in the second half, I thought I even said to you, I'm like, the game's over. But
Just
they
folded
were able
in.
to, yeah. It's like, but they came back. They had an opportunity to tie it, and I mean that's all you can ask for. The team didn't give up, and that was something that really impressed me with this team this year was that they didn't give up. I think last year you kind of saw it like there were times this team gave up, and that was something this team did not do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is the senior laden leadership of this team, and we're gonna miss these guys.
Yep.
John Tanjay, second team All American. I mean, who would have thought when Guard signed him? We kind of thought he'd be a solid starter to give you 12, 13 points a game and be, just a solid guy. But he ends up being just incredible, outstanding. And he was the guy that took the last shot. And I'm sure there's plenty of Badger fans out there that took issue with the shot he took. You know what? And we talked about this too. It's like I'm okay. We live and die by the sword. John Tanjay made incredible shots all season. I want the ball in his hands, shooting the shot to either send us to overtime or let us go home, and we went home. And but he's going to be greatly missed. And guys like Carter Gilmore, Gilly James, we're going to miss him. I never thought those
Yeah.
words would come out of my mouth. Um, just I think the senior leadership of this team is something that hasn't been talked about enough, and I think is what willed this team to keep it competitive, not just the BYU game, but just throughout the season. Because we really did not have many ugly losses. We fought hard, and we were a team that was highly competitive throughout Big Ten play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was definitely good to see the development of guys like Kamari McGee, even though I think last year when he got hurt, you saw that he was definitely a big part of the team. But Carter Gilmore, played a big role. I think always has been the hype guy, but now was able to back it up with his play. I mean, Stephen Crowell's been a guy, but I think even his development after kind of having a bad game, he stepped it up. Like you said, just a good senior team that all played well together. I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of like who could be the next Carter Gilmore as far as like next year. Who's a guy who's been on the bench, but really Carter's been playing a lot, so it's like it's hard to like be like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be the next Carter Gilmore because I don't see anybody really who's been on the bench that like I think would take that next jump. It's been something you got a couple of juniors there, but it's like they haven't really played much as far as like Hodges and stuff like that. Isaac Guard, maybe he'll step it up.
Little nepotism coming into play.
Yeah,
Guard. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and this coming season, we have 3 freshmen coming in: Zach Kinzinger, Will Garlock, Hayden Jones. Asking a freshman to come into and fill in that role, it's going to be tough. Kinzinger out of De Pere is a highly regarded, top 100 or 200 recruit in the country. So somebody that's a big name that could come in, could he surprise some people and come off the bench? I don't know. The transfer portal just opened up today, which JJ Watt threw some tweets out there about how crazy. Just think about it. We're going into the Sweet 16 this weekend, and we got the transfer portal opened up for college basketball.
yeah,
To me, that's a whole other topic for another day. But it's just a crazy landscape in the sport, and it's hard for us to do these kind of videos because literally by tomorrow we could have a whole new team in front of us that we could unpack and talk
yep.
about. But there are definitely holes in the fill it, Robbie. And I don't know for you, what's the biggest hole Greg Gard and the team need to fill going into next season?
I mean, I think it's still going to be at the 5 position, losing Crowell. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It's like you have guys, but they're all unproven at this point in time. So I think just being able to get a guy who's at least somewhat proven to be able to go in there and be able to take care of the post, I think that's going to be the biggest thing for this team. I think you still got some shooters, and I think point guard, like, yeah, part of me wants to say ball handler, but it's like I think with Blackwell, he might he might not be a like a plus ball handler, but he could get the job done if you need it. Now, it's like I think Winter, he's a solid 4, but I don't think he's that 5 that you want down there in the post. So that's why I would say 5.
Yeah, and really, if you think about it, there's really 2 spots locked up next year. We have Nolan Winter at the 4 and Blackwell combo 1-2, wherever you want to put them. That means there's 3 open spots. And I'm with you on the 5. And you mentioned Stephen Crowell, and he will be missed. And I know he's a very polarizing player in his time with the Badgers. Um, I think one thing that is left to be desired is just that toughness and rebounding and rim protection. Crowell was more of a, I think it's fair to say he was more of a finesse big. Definitely his 3-point shooting was nice. He was a guy that disrupted, some bigs inside with with some of his shot blocking, or at least shot deflections, or
He was
um,
pesky. He was a
yeah,
pesky defender.
not a guy that's gonna jump out of the gym. I would love to see a guy that I don't, even if he averages 5 points a game, I want a guy that can get 10 boards a night and protect the rim. And I think Nolan Winter needs a guy like that for him to really flourish with his type of game, being more on the outside and shooting threes and kind of slashing, because Nolan Winter doesn't have the body or build to bang with guys on the inside. So I think Nolan Winter's development is highly dependent on having a 5 that can be a heavy rebounder and a rim protector. And I think we really missed that at times this year. Not with just other bigs, but with guards penetrating in. If they see a tall 7-footer that can block shots, that may deter them from coming in the paint some more.
Yeah, no, I think definitely getting in a 5, and Winter does still have good size. It's just he's not able to be down there all the time. But I think, yeah, definitely having the combo of Winter and another 7-footer is huge,
And
just even
Winter
from a rebounding aspect.
Winter's more effective from the outside. And honestly, his size, teams are going to have to scheme against that. They can't throw a 7-footer on them because most 7-footers can't hang with Winter on the outside.
Oh,
So like he's a real advantage. And you also talked ball handler. I think that's very close. Like I would put 1A being the rim protector and 1B being a ball handler. And we saw that. We
yep.
talked about this. You went to the Oregon game where you saw teams trapping us and pressing, and we saw Max Klesmit this year, which is another senior we're going to miss, took on some of that ball handling responsibility. I think for Blackwell to feel comfortable and to really flourish and take the next step, I think we need to put him back at the 2 and let a true ball handler come into the program.
Yep.
And there was a lot of questions floated out, like, oh, what if Chucky Hepburn was a Badger this year? How crazy would the season be? Or how great could our offense be? We can debate that, but I think we can all agree a facilitator and a guy like Hepburn that could have gotten inside and kicked the ball at the shooters, we would have probably greatly benefited from that. So I think that's something that we have to look at the portal too. I just don't know who's out there or what's out there. It's a wild, wild west with the transfer portal.
Yeah, and it really is. It's just like there's a lot of hope out there on who you can get. But I think the idea of asking that question, how good could this team have been with Chucky Hepburn, just kind of goes to show you if we're asking that question, there's a lot of people that are. And so that's an appeal for this new Badger team, this new Badger style, which I think is very appealing when it comes to the transfer portal. So I'll be definitely looking forward to a show when we're able to talk about the point guard they bring in because I think it's might surprise some people. I think, you know, this is definitely showing that the basketball team can be invested in. So I think that's going to help with NIL money. So I think a lot, this season has gone a long way. You know, an earlier exit from the tournament that we were wanting, but the season and the way this team played showed enough to show that it can be invested in.
Yeah. And, and I'm with you. This is a debate we've had. Is this a season of success or a failure? And I believe I said in our last episode, I'm gonna eat my words a bit here. I did say if we did not get to the Sweet 16, when would we? It would be kind of a failure. I think now that I've had a chance to kind of just take a step back, I think Greg Gard's a great regular season coach. I think that there's not much debate there. We're constantly in the top half of the Big Ten. We're competing night in and night out in one of the top 2 or 3 conference in the country. We can debate which is the best, but we're a team that's respected. We get solid production. We win games that we're supposed to, and we lose games closely that we're supposed to lose for the most part. I Obviously there's a lot to be desired in March, but again, March is a 1-game playoff situation. If we play BYU best of 5, who knows? Maybe we win it the series 3-2. It's hard to tell on a 2-point loss in a closely contested second half. So I would say it's a success leading into what kind of talent we can bring in this era. Because like you said, Robbie, the offense that we run, dropping 80 plus points a game, being lethal on the offensive side. We're not sitting here trying to have bar fights at 50-49, trying to barely squeak by and win games and minimize possessions. Like I feel like Wisconsin is a respected program. Recruits and transfers are going to see this as a desirable spot to maybe play some offensive ball. So we'll have to see what translates from that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Ryan Heron's talked about it or someone else did, but it's like, AJ Storr still got paid. It's like you made John Tonje a second team All American. I think he'll probably be drafted. So it's just like second round. I mean, you want a guy who can score. I think he could probably do that. I think a guy who's able to kind of drive.
Yeah,
We'll
he's
see.
a fringe.
But he's a
Maybe if the Bucks
fringe
draft
guy.
him. Yeah, maybe if the Bucks draft him, a little hometown cooking. But
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think he's got enough talent that it's like he was able to score points. And so I think it's at least showing. I mean, his stock definitely improved. Worst case scenario, his stock improved. He might at least get a look. Whereas if you just went based off of last year when he was at Missouri and he was hurt, Colorado State, he's probably not doing much. But I think this year definitely showed something for him. So I guess that would be my point. Just enough to like, hey, we're making people better here, and you can actually, come to Wisconsin and you got a chance to make yourself better and be seen.
Yeah, and we have the Big Ten being the 18-team conference we are.
Yep.
I mean, it's appealing to play teams out west and have a competitive conference playing teams like Michigan State, Purdue. We'll see if Indiana can come out of the ashes a little bit here. Oregon, we have a really strong conference. We're not asking to play in the Atlantic Sun or the Horizon League. No offense to those leagues, but we're lots of TV time, lots of national recognition. It's a program on the rise, I would say. But one of my fears, we're talking about new talent. It's been 2 seasons in a row now where Gard has, we'll say, nailed the transfer portal. We brought in AJ Storr 2 years ago. Obviously, it didn't end great, but Storr was still a critical piece to our success. And this year with Tonje, it's like, we talked about a little bit earlier about our starting 5. We really feel confident about 2 guys. It's like, how confident are we, with 3 holes to fill? I feel like we're playing a dangerous game here. We're playing this transfer game. Like we got to fill 3 holes. I feel like I don't want to wish bad things on the team, but it's like, are we due for a bad portal season? I mean, how many times can Gard strike gold? I mean, and it's not like football where you have 100+ guys in the roster to fill holes quickly. It's like basketball, you're limited, and if one guy stinks, you're kind of stuck. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking on that.
I mean, I think you use the guys that you got, and I think you look at last year's store, and I think he had some issues with depth, and I think definitely the depth was better this year. But I mean, it comes down to Greg Gard and him developing players. You got to look at the bench, and like they still did bring some guys in. It's like that were on the bench this year that didn't play much. So it's like, how much have they improved? So I think that's going to be the biggest thing you got to look at. So it's like you got to get your kind of star, because unless it's winter, which maybe you think it is, and that your two stars next year are going to be Winter and Blackwell, but I don't Winter. I don't know if he's shown enough yet. I think he could be that guy, but otherwise, I think you're looking for a star in the portal still. So that's going to be the biggest thing.
And
You need
that's a
those two
dangerous
guys.
game. That's a dangerous game to play. And we hit the gold mine 2 years in a row. Can you hit it 3 times? If Greg Gard can, more power to you. I just have a little bit of trepidation, and this is why I wonder what the state. And I'm not a recruiting expert, but it's like, what is the state of our recruiting if we have 3 major holes to fill? We need a wing to take over Tanjay. We need a point guard, and we need a rim protector. So it's like, have we missed on guys like Hodges? Guys like Marcus Ilver, who's leaving the program now. Um, from a point guard standpoint, I know Daniel Freitag was a name we picked up last year in recruiting. It
Yeah,
sounds like his development may be, it's too early to tell, but, I think a lot of people were surprised from his lack of production or,
yeah,
minutes this year. Can he take a step up? Um, there's too many question marks around there. That's what worries me a little bit is like, are we living too much in the transfer portal? Because again, just like football, there's a reason why these guys hit the portal. Some of it's money, but some of it is because they have limitations or
yeah,
injury history or not.
yeah.
I don't know. It
Yeah,
doesn't
and you
give me a warm and fuzzies.
had Connor Siege in last year, and then Gus Yalden. Some people were high on him. No one was higher than on him than himself. So I don't know. But it's like I think the big thing is it's still an NIL time and a transfer portal time, and so you're going to have stars leaving all the time. I mean, nobody thought Chalky was going to leave last year. Everyone thought he was going to stay on the team. Dude had a Wisconsin tattoo on him, and he still ended up leaving. So who knows what star's gonna leave because they want to make sure they get their playing time, and I think that's something Wisconsin's able to offer. So in that way, like as long as you're able to identify talent and bring them in, I think you got a shot. And I think guard can still be in good situation. Obviously, if you get wrong or somebody gets hurt, you know, then you're in trouble there. But I mean, there's just so many what ifs right now.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. And I guess one of the last things I was thinking is, where are you at with Greg Gard, Robbie? I know that's also a polarizing question in our Badger fan
Yeah,
groups, but
Greg
I guess
Gard.
where's your head at?
I used to be on the fire guard train last year, because I saw the collapse after half the year, and like I've mentioned, I saw the team give up. This year that didn't happen. I saw development and growth; those are all good things. I saw a coach who's willing to change his offensive philosophy, and so those things encourage me enough to say that Greg Gard's seat is not hot right now for me. I think he's doing a good job coaching. Obviously, I change with the season, so if things change again, it's like maybe I'll be back in the fire guard train. But the fact that he was able to change all those things does open my eyes to at least the fact that he's willing to change and make adjustments.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, I would love to disagree with you to create fire, but I'm right with you. I think Greg Gard is, again, like I said, it's a great regular season coach, and he can be a frustrating coach to like come postseason time.
Yep.
Um, there's always people that have it better than you and worse than you. You could look at programs like Iowa with Fran McCaffrey that left. They've been struggling for the last few years. Indiana just had to force Mike Woodson out the door. And a program like Indiana, look at a program like
Yeah.
Syracuse after Boeheim left. Like
Yep.
they're a dumpster fire. So it makes me just think like, you know what? I think we can accept some limitations we have with Gard, perhaps. Maybe we've hit his ceiling a little bit, but I think we're always approaching the ceiling. It's very rare when we leave a season feeling very, very, very underwhelmed. He led a team that was picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten as a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think, and I will go to the grave of this, I think we got absolutely shafted in the tournament with location and matchups, which is fine. You can hate on me in the comments.
Yeah.
More power to you. I'll debate you all day. Um, and I think the program's in a good trajectory. I think other than recruiting, I would say that's the one place that makes me a little
Yep.
bit worried, and I hope I want to see some better output from our recruits because again, 3 holes to fill in the roster for next year is a little concerning. But but to the transfer portal, he's nailed the transfer portal, and a lot of coaches haven't. So we'll see if he can keep it going. And I think with him bringing Penny on the staff too to help recreate this offense and expanding our international footprint. We've picked up 2 New Zealanders, one in the coming up in the freshman class for next season, and then another one, Jackson Ball, that's in the class of 26. So we're opening up our international footprint a little bit more too, which makes things a little bit more exciting, and we can see if we can land some other type of guys into the program. So I'm with you. I think Gard's safe. I just hope we can maybe just push through that ceiling because I feel like we're there. We're knocking on the
Yeah.
door, and we're ready to get through it.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Pop through it. No, I definitely agree. Excited to see exactly what roster moves get made here. But like I said, it's up to Greg Gard at this point, and the staff to really evaluate. And so, like I said, we'll be back with another show once we kind of hear more on that, get talking more basketball. Obviously, we're gonna be talking some Badger football here once we get more news there and everything like that. So just happy to be able to talk with all you guys and go over the end of the basketball season. But until we get more news, it was a great time talking with you. Tune in next time.